work. So stepping into the fireside today, one of the key highlights of our graduation and celebration, and we're so excited to have three amazing powerhouses that will be joining us today. These are familiar faces to the Women Empowerment Program, but we're so humbled that they take the time to come and join us. So we have Madame Laziz, we have Claire Gillison Duval, and Jacqueline Aridi. So I'm just going to introduce you all to these three amazing ladies. So Madame Laziz is the director of the Genie program at the Ministry of National Education in the Kingdom of Morocco. She holds two PhDs, two ladies, I hope you got that right, two PhDs. And she is basically taking the lead on the adoption of ICT across Moroccan education, having been doing this since 2007. And she has managed to handle several cooperation programs with the European Union, looking at programs that strengthen the links between academia and business, and also looking at the work that she's doing, particularly with this program, and we're so grateful for this. She has been working alongside Claire Gillison Duval and SAP partners, playing a huge role in the nationwide adoption of Africa Code Week and making sure that its teaching materials are disseminated by all Moroccan teachers and students, and making Africa Code Week a yearly celebration of coding and digital skills in Morocco. Welcome, Madame Laziz.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much. I am in charge of anything digital at the national level for our education program. And it is a joy for me to be with you once again, like every year or twice a year, even at the end of your web. And what we heard today from all those teachers who took part to this year's web really summarizes the core of the recommendations that we must all implement so that young girls and young ladies can have good health. That way they are able not only to go to school, but to go to school or to work safely. And what may seem very basic for some populations in the world can be extremely complex. For example, the access to sanitary pads. And I did note that some encourage the making up of sanitary pads from readily available material. In rich countries, this is easily accessible, but in different shops. But here, even in rich countries, we come back to natural products because they are less damaging. And we have learned that in Africa, we have fewer resources, and we do use materials such as cotton, even for newborns. That's what we use, as we did 50 years ago. That's what we lived through. For nappies, we wash them, they're in cotton, and then we dry them. This is all for the hygiene and sanitary part. The calendar is also extremely important. We know how hormonal pressure on teenage girls can lead to risky behaviors, and it is our responsibility to explain what is menstruation, what is a cycle, how we can protect ourselves. And this whole I should say all of the presentations complement each other because they have different approaches. The fight against tobacco, it is one of the key drugs, and I totally agree with the group that worked on that particular issue. It is a good choice, and I heard not so long ago a person very close to me say, I hope that there will never be a first cigarette. And this is really what we are talking about. Children must refuse this first cigarette. We must explain to them the risk. Tobacco abuse, but also drug addiction will lead to damaged health, and you're not going to be able to benefit from good health and from well-being, whether we talk of girls or boys. So these are my first reactions. And when I saw those presentations, congratulations to all the teams. It was really fabulous. And as Nadine said, in 6 weeks, we find some great ladies ready to defend topics that are close to our hearts. And we are really in a space where we can see great competence. You are able to understand those themes, those difficulties, and I wish you really good luck with these tools. Use the digital resources like Scratch with your students so that they want to follow on those programs. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that amazing feedback, Madame Laziz. And, I was just listening to you speaking about, especially the war on drugs, to say, if they just could not be that first cigarette. What a profound statement. So moving on to another powerhouse here on the Fireside Chat today, we have Claire Gillison Duval. And it's such a pleasure to welcome Claire. And Claire, please step into the fireside. So Claire is the director of EMEA Corporate Social Responsibility and Africa Code Week's global lead at SAP. And we just want to take the opportunity right now to say thank you to all our funding partners and sponsors for this Women Empowerment Program year in, year out. They're showing us the much needed support: SAP, Irish Aid, UNESCO, Camden Education Trust, and a whole bunch of other partners that are constantly with us. So we just want to say thank you for that. And so speaking about Claire and her many, many hats, she is the director of EMEA Corporate Social Responsibility at SAP. She basically nurtures and builds strategic partnerships that leverage talent, technology, and capital to help the world run better and improve people's lives. She has supported hundreds of nonprofits over the past 20 years with a sharp focus on youth empowerment, accountable grant making, and philanthropy. Claire is also the co-founder and also global lead of SAP's Africa Code Week, a C4F Davos award-winning initiative that has introduced coding to millions of youth across 54 African countries since 2015. Claire, you are so welcome. It's such a pleasure to see you in the Fireside once again.
Merci beaucoup. Alors, je souhaiterais...
Thank you very much. Thank you. And I would like to use this opportunity to wish all our Muslim ladies a good Ramadan, because we are starting this new period. So thank you. And thank you for inviting me. It is always a great joy for me to be with Ilham and the other distinguished guests for this program. I've heard the topics that are really important. Ilham talked about the risks of the first cigarette, and I must say that this really impacts me directly, because very young, I was a victim. So it is something very personal that I am sharing with you today. But I managed to get out of this addiction only very recently. I managed to stop smoking cigarettes. 2 years ago, I was 48, and it meant an extra 20 kilos, but I had to stop smoking. It was really important for me. I saw all the presentations, and it was a great pleasure to see them. First of all, I think that they are remarkable. They are really topical, and there are always some markers such as empathy. That was really striking for me. So first of all, I would like to congratulate you all, ladies, for your commitments to help teenage girls.
Thank you very, very much, Claire. Thank you very, very much. We appreciate the comments that you've given us and the feedback as well that you've given us, and also just taking us through, the vulnerable side, of your story. And we really, really appreciate that. So moving over to another powerhouse, I said there are three. We have Jacqueline Aridi. Dr. Jacqueline Oridi is a director at the National Global Center Notre Dame International, based in Nairobi. She provides leadership and guidance to Notre Dame partners in Africa. She also works with faculty and students in supporting the implementation of research projects and activities, as well as strengthening current partnerships in the region. Previously, Jacqueline served as a regional community health advisor for East Africa at Columbia University's Earth Institute. She has also worked with the International Center for AIDS Care and Treatment Programs at the Mailman School of Public Health, Columbia University, and she has worked for the World Health Organization, the Global Business Coalition on GBC Health, and the Global Alliance on Improved Nutrition. Jacqueline holds a PhD in Health Systems Management from Strathmore University and is widely published. Jacqueline, always a pleasure to have you on the Fireside Chat. You're so welcome. And please give us your first comments on what you've just seen.
Thank you, Victoria, for the kind introduction. Ramadan Kareem to all my Muslim colleagues and everyone. I express a lot of gratitude for being invited here again. And it's always a pleasure and a joy to see the girls and the group of teachers who are doing this wonderful work focused on young girls. I think 6 weeks is a very short time to come up with such achievements. And from a research perspective, I was just very, very impressed. So what I saw were 5 main themes. The first theme is the focus on marginalized groups. I cannot congratulate the teams enough for looking at groups that society tends to ignore. So deaf girls, young women, teenage girls, and this is a true testament and testimony to diversity, equity, and inclusion. And this should be practiced more by other organizations working in such spaces. Then again, there's the focus on common challenges aligned to the SDGs. So I heard about menstruation, drug addiction, as my colleague Ilham has talked about, and reproductive and sexual health. These are very hard topics to tackle and are being tackled by huge organizations. So I think the courage to tackle such issues is very commendable and to go deep into them. Then again, thirdly, the issue of empathy. I really, really like that Claire brought that up. Empathy cannot be easily measured, and the idea that empathy is at the center of these interventions is very important. And the use of community-based approaches and human rights approach. I come from a background of public health, and community-based approaches are key in getting change, advancing change and impact. So I like that the teachers had community-based approaches and human rights approaches at the center of all the work that they did. Then fourthly, the use of digital resources. I don't think some of us are familiar with how to use Scratch. We've heard about it, but we've not dabbled. And seeing that being presented and used as a tool was very important. And use of applications, the creative use of applications to sort out problems. We're moving to a digital age, so all of us have to adapt to this and be on a learning curve. And we saw them use this quite aptly. Lastly, I think the innovation, very creative. The short play was very nice. I wish we had time to watch the girls and the cigarette smoking and the lesson behind it. So again, congratulations to all the teams. Well done. This was very, very creative and attention holding. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jacqueline. And I must say thank you so much to all our Fireside panelists for giving us such positive feedback. We're really, really excited that you have acknowledged the hard work that the ladies on the Women Empowerment Program have put through for this semester. Madame Laziz, we are going to come over to you. I know your love for education speaks for itself. And we just want to talk to you a little bit about what's happening in Morocco with regards girls' health, education, and well-being. I mean, we have lots of teachers here on this platform today. What key learnings and best practices could you share with us all from all our respective countries about this area of girls' health education? let's use Morocco as a, possibly maybe even as a case study, if we can.
Écoutez, je vais partager avec
Well, I'm going to share with you a topic that I don't fully understand myself, but we are working with health professionals, and I shared your request with them. And I'm going to try to summarize what Morocco does, but also what the Health Ministry of Morocco does in terms of health education. First of all, we started with school curricula. What happens in school? What happens within programs of our partners? And when I talk about partners, I talk about the health ministry, or I talk about companies or United Nations organizations. So first of all, we have a whole vaccination program everywhere in Morocco for girls and for boys. And this is also done inside schools, in primary schools, in secondary schools. We also have screening programs. And we have a national week of school health. And more recently, since 2020 and 2021, we added sexual and reproductive health in school curricula. And we also have vaccination against the HPV virus for young girls as early as 11 years old. It's also possible for boys. I learned it, I didn't know about it, and my boys were able to benefit from it when they were close to the age of 18, but it was still possible for them. So if I had to summarize, this is what I could say. At school and university level, we have health visit in the first year of primary school and in the first year of secondary school. This is done in collaboration with the health ministry. And during the National Week for Health, there are different campaigns of awareness raising. As I said, we have this vaccination campaign against HPV. We also have a program for sexual and reproductive health. The aim here is to act before 2030. In the 5th and the 6th year of primary school, we want to introduce some concepts and some explanations for young children in primary school and also in secondary school. And let's not forget that we work with the Flu app, for example. It's one of our partners, and we try to have to give access to teenage girls to psychosocial programs so they understand how to live healthily. We also work with UNICEF programs, so for vulnerable teenage girls. And there's also a very important program that used to be done with the Association Fighting Against AIDS, but with other organizations fighting AIDS. And with that program, we have awareness raising campaigns targeted at young people on the impact of AIDS when it's not detected early enough, and also to explain to them how they can avoid catching AIDS. And Morocco worked with other organizations over the last 40 years. We have worked on awareness raising campaigns, but also in distributing protection and prevention items in universities, and young boys and young girls and young moms also receive anonymously their treatment. And today we have tritherapy to fight AIDS in Morocco. And we also working on hepatitis C, because that is a great issue in Morocco and in the rest of Africa. So this is what is our health ministry is doing. We do have a dual approach. We have campaigns in schools and outside schools. We have many activities that are being organized for girls so that they understand puberty better, so they understand intimate hygiene, vaginal secretions, for example. And we have all those activities in Morocco. We have many children and young people in primary and secondary schools. And the school space is where you can learn. It's a learning space. That means that you can also improve your health. That has an impact on your education then, because it is a reciprocal relationship. If you have good health, you have good education. If you have good education, you have good health. It goes both ways. And I'm going to add to what Claire was saying. I was talking earlier about the first cigarettes. I was talking about my sons. And since she shared something personal, I must say that I feel pushed to share something myself. And when he shared with me when he was 20, what he did for the first time and what he managed to stop showed me that it is possible, and he managed to stop smoking. So thank you very much. A cigarette fight is very important. Well done, ladies. It is important, all of us, to be there, to train them, to educate them. This has a huge impact on young people. Thank you again.
Thank you so much, Madame Laziz. And it's so amazing, all the amazing work that's being done. National Week of School Health. These are some of the things that, if it's not happening in your country, that we could just push for and possibly maybe try to adopt. That's absolutely amazing. And so much sharing happening. And this is so, this speaks to the community that we are as the Women Empowerment Program, that we're so able to share all our stories on this space. So moving over to you, Claire. So we've managed to look at all the presentation and looked at the work, the continuing work that this community of women from the Women Empowerment Program have done, taking it from last semester and bringing it into this semester. How do you think the development of modules such as these to improve the retention of girls in school are relevant?
Before replying to this question of how to improve the retention of girls in school and their general well-being, the first thing to say is to recognize and acknowledge that poverty is an important issue, and that the voice of the people who live in poverty must be heard. So I would like to refer to the various presentations we heard, and I would like to congratulate the participants on the very professional approach they followed. It's very important to come up with concrete solution, and I will give concrete solution. I think about the Lioness Group, and they highlight the fact that poverty is sometimes an obstacle to access to sanitary products. They also draw up a wonderful questionnaire in order to improve equal opportunities. The second group, Oprotec Sisters, for their part, worked on a project focusing on girls who had hearing difficulties and impairments. And the first step was to see what was the situation, and on that basis they offered solutions such as sign language training or adaptive teaching supports, including Strat. And then I think of the other group, the Track Me calendar proposed by Women's Zone, together with a solution such as washable sanitary pads. I also want to highlight the Women Pace Setter group. They thought about how to better include deaf and mute girls in education so that they too can get the job they want in life, and they have very concrete solutions. The Ladies Tech group on sexual and reproductive health This center said it was also very important to know what you are talking about, and they highlight the importance of access to information about STDs risks, how to treat infections. They also highlighted the importance to stop the stigma and the taboos around sexual health, to make sure that any sexual relation is responsible and healthy. Now, that's very important. I really wanted to refer to the various presentations to commend the efforts and the work they put in their work. So back to how to improve the retention of girls in school. Well, it is a highly important issue in the world we live in. By deconstructing gender stereotypes, we can only improve the situation for all kids. In Kenya, a study carried out highlighted that following COVID-19, 18% of girls, 20% of girls didn't go back to school once they reopened. So of course, this led to an increase in child marriages and early pregnancies. So within these studies, the children highlighted that the decision to get married was motivated by financial reasons, economic reasons. So through improving the retention of girls in school, through the modules that we saw today, we can contribute to solving this issue, putting the focus on pedagogy and teaching. And what I've really liked in the modules that were presented was that they were based on empathy and to provide concrete solutions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Claire, for just highlighting just that importance of the development of the modules and also bringing in other aspects to how they carried out their design thinking process. So it's not every opportunity that we get to think about things from an empathetic point of view when developing it. And so thank you so much for highlighting that. It's over to you, Jacqueline. And so we know you're in the STEM space and you work really, you've done a lot of remarkable work in the area of health. And so we just want to find out, just in brief, just an insight into some of the programs that you are involved in to encourage and support girls in STEM education, and maybe give us one or two practical examples of how these programs are actually working.
Thank you, Victoria. So coming from a university perspective, we have partnered, so the University of Notre Dame based in the US and through my office has partnered with local universities in Kenya, so universities like Strathmore University, to focus on inclusive STEM. So most of the time, the graduates from these STEM programs are men, and most of the opportunities go to male students upon graduation. But we have taken a step to match for every male student we recruit, we match a female student. And so we went into an MOU and got a partnership where we match a male and a female student, and we give them a virtual paid internship for 6 months. So just like Claire was saying, research indicates that young women do not get the first step into management because of lack of technical skills. It's actually called the broken rung. So many young women fall off because you can't break in, and you can't break into management because you don't have the technical skills. So luckily the pandemic has taught us that we can do things virtually, like we're seeing this amazing program that is running virtually. So we are giving them virtual paid internships for 6 months, renewable upon performance, and we're ensuring that women are included. And I really am borrowing lessons from the teachers and having these inclusive policies that have deaf women, young girls. These are some of the programmings that we need to go further in inclusion and diversity and say, what does diversity really mean? It's just not bringing women, but intersectionality, bringing women who are deaf women who have other disabilities that might not be visible to people down. So this program, we've seen it work very well. We've done our first cohort, and actually we got a report that the female software engineer was being renewed because she was performing the highest between the men and the women. And so I think we need to relook at our programs and the models that we use. We need to keep a pipeline that gives women opportunity because of the gender bias that is there. Women don't often get that first step, and they get frustrated because of lack of opportunity. So any program that is there needs to intentionally look at inclusion and look at diversity from a more broader lens and get the women on board. And so we're really happy that we're creating a pipeline for equitable and inclusive software, because the industry of software engineering coding, you might learn it, but where do you get the skills to practice? And where do you get the paid internship? It's very competitive, and unless strategies are made by employers to give opportunity, then women will again be left behind, even if you give programs. So that's what we are doing as a university, and we hope to keep our objective of having a pipeline of equitable and inclusive programs. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm actually very touched with the direct intervention that you spoke about, to say for every male that you have in the program, you match that with another female. And that really is a classic example of going into an intervention that practically works and is also equitable, just promoting that, that equity, that diversity, that inclusion that we need in the workspace. So thank you so much for sharing. And just to remind all of you on the Fireside Chat to quickly just, glance over through the chat section. There's so many amazing messages for you all in the chat section, just to ask you to have a look at that. And so as we bring our session to a close, we cannot step out of the Fireside Chat without hearing your parting words. So Madame Laziz, one last comment and statement from you as we wrap up the Fireside Chat.
Merci.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for allowing me to give my reaction and my feedback to your web program. It indeed strengthened and enhanced the activities carried out by Africa Code Week, which since 2015 promoted coding in Africa and was included in various school programs and curricula. It also allowed for the improvement of the teachers' skills as well throughout Africa. And we can see the impact it has on our own work, whether there are coding activities as part of Africa Code Week or even in the daily teaching in the schools. Now, of course, it's still a small number of women because the format is such that it can only reach to a limited number of people, but I have no doubt it will go from strength to strength and reach out an even wider number of women who will start as participants, then facilitators and perhaps moderators. And it's great to see them from different backgrounds. I follow some of them on Twitter, and it's wonderful to see what they do with their students, teaching them coding. But also another objective of the web was to upgrade the women in their skills and open them to other themes, such as the topics we heard about this moment, because I said very modestly that I have no skills or training in the area of health. I'm in charge of digital skills, but so I learned also, and it allows us to discover what's going on in our country and in other African countries. And I would also like to thank my dear friend Claire, who was with us in Morocco in 2015 and suggested that coding should be part of the school curricula in Morocco. And thanks to Claire, it is now the fact that coding is a full element of the school curricula in Morocco. And we are thinking of making coding accessible to primary schools also. We're going to start a pilot phase with mobile equipment when they don't have lab facilities, so that coding is not just taking place during the Africa Code Week, but over the course of many weeks throughout the year. And I think the success or the reach that we have achieved today, it's thanks to SAP and Africa Code Week and the belief of Claire in this initiative. Thank you very much.
And thank you very much, Madame Laziz. It's always such a pleasure seeing you on the Fireside chat. Claire, your parting shots, your brief parting shots.
Merci, Victoria.
Thank you, Victoria. Well, when SAP first imagined in 2019 in Rabat, again in Morocco, so thank you, Elam, also to host us on this occasion. When we implemented the Women Empowerment Program as part of Africa Code Week, our intention was to gather science teachers in Africa so that they would become a source of inspiration and role models in their own classrooms. And since then, we kept on advocating for the inclusion of a teaching program with a stronger focus on inclusion and diversity. But this is not enough, because we know that it takes every time of the day to make sure that the community is trained, educated, and open to gender equality. Nevertheless, thanks to synergies through our strong partnership with UNESCO, Camden Education Trust, Irish Aid, and Adela in Africa, and thanks also to the Moroccan Education Ministry and Elam, and many other stakeholders who joined us, this was made possible. This supports our vision and allows us to reach a bigger impact. So Elam gave you the history in 2015. So Victoria, I might correct you. We reached out to 14 million of kids who were able to get acquainted with coding since the start of the program, and half of them were girls. So we've always made sure that girls' inclusion is a true indicator of the impact of the program, because we want to be a social impact initiative. So well done for having completed the first semester of the web program in 2023. Well done to all of the women who played their part in this global mission of ours, which is raising awareness against gender inequalities. Congratulations for embracing the full potential of who you really are and the impact you can have around you. But we will also want to really thank you for your commitment. And also I would like to congratulate Bernard Kirk, who never wants to show his face during the program, but he's there in the background to support us. And I would like to thank the web team for their outstanding program. Thank you very much, and a big hug from me to you all.
Thank you, and a hug from us to you right back. Thank you so much, Claire, for that. And moving over to you, Jacqueline, your brief, in a minute or two, your brief parting shots.
Thank you, Victoria. I think I'm just honored to be in this space of wonderful women from the African continent doing fantastic work that is very, very inspiring. The Women's Empowerment Program has been, to me, something that we should really look at very carefully and include in the pipeline. I think we've had people mention the primary schools, the secondary schools, coding, the teachers, but we need to move to partnership at the university level and maintain a pipeline for the workforce, because that's where the technical skills really are needed and really end up. So I'm very inspired. We've seen them solving their own problems using technology. We've seen diversity and inclusion. We've seen community approaches. We've seen empathy at the center of all this. So it's a unique program in many, many ways. So I think, like Claire said, the vision for impact should be multifaceted and should take into account what has been learned, including these groups, these diverse groups of deaf women, very young girls, and having a vision where most people get skills and get them throughout the pipeline. Very grateful to Bernard Kirk, Linda, and my colleagues at the Global Gateway in Ireland for bringing me into this. And just as a parting shot, we at the University of Notre Dame have like coding academies at some of our gateways. So there's one in Jerusalem called Adam, where we train young people in coding, and so ways in which we can expand such digital programs. So we'll talk with Bernard and the rest on seeing how to bring the university at the center of this to give specialized certification and technical skills that can make young women succeed in a global workforce. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, ladies. And look, it's a big heartfelt thanks, I'm sure, from us, the entire web community, to you today. And I'm sure the ladies want to show you some love. So this is what we do here on the Women Empowerment Program, is show you some love before we leave. Your time, your commitment to this program is really precious to us, and we really appreciate you being here. And also, it's a big thank you to everyone from the Web Alumni Group. We have all our alumni, some of our alumni group that have joined us this morning. And so it was wonderful to see you all again, so many familiar faces. And we hope that you've enjoyed the morning so far as much as we have. At this point, it is now time for us to say goodbye to all of you that are from the WEP alumni as we proceed now with this semester. And we hope we will see you all again really, really soon. And please just remember to stay in the WEP alumni WhatsApp group for new and upcoming news. Just make sure that